بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful.
Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Salatu wassalamu ala ashrafil anbiya'i wal mursaleen wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in. Wa ba'd. My dear brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. The topic of today's lecture is diseases of the heart and their cures. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in Surah Al-Shu'ara, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Yawma la yanfa'u ma'lun wa la banun, illa man ata Allah biqalbin salim. The day when neither wealth nor children will benefit, except him who brings to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala jalla jalaluhu qalbun salim, a heart which is pure, a heart which is clean. My brothers and sisters, let me ask you 3 questions. And you don't have to answer me, but you think about these questions and answer yourself. First question. If I ask you as you sit here, what are your 3 top, in order of priority, what are your 3 top concerns? What are the 3 things that you are most concerned about just now? Top of the mind. I don't want you to reflect too much, I don't want you to think too much, because if it is top concern, then instantly it pops up in the mind. The moment you say top concern, what's my top concern? Will I have my job? What's my top concern? What happens to my family? Whatever it is, top 3 concerns. I want you to list them. Those of you who are carrying notebooks, alhamdulillah, make a note on that. Next question, with respect to the first question. How many of you put number 1 in those top 3 concerns? My akhirah. Alhamdulillah, I'm seeing some show of hands. Second question. If I ask you to list your top 3 strengths, what are your top 3 strengths? 1, 2, 3. List them. Top 3 strengths. Next question with regard to the second question. How many of you put Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as the number 1 strength? Your strength, Allah. MashaAllah, honest people, I don't see any show of hands. Maybe this thing is blinding me, Allah. How is it that Muslims do not put Allah as a strength, as your strength? Third question. If I ask you to list the top 3 people you love, and don't fool yourself, because this is a leading question. Seriously ask yourself this question. Before I ask the question, what would it have been? Top 3 people you love. List them. For how many of you did you put Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam as number 1? As I told you, this is a leading question. You are the one to decide whether you would really have put Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, or whether you put it because now you are sitting in this masjid, in this lecture and so on, so you are smart. Whichever one, wallahu alam, it's your life. But ask yourself that question. For whom, which one of you is Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam the one you love the most? I'm not asking these as random questions. All these three questions are related to diseases of the heart. And all these three questions have dalail and proofs in the kalam of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and in the ahadith of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Alhamdulillah, I'm sitting in this beautiful masjid, and when I was coming here and when my lecture was announced in this masjid, there was one thing which everybody told me. And they said that this masjid is in the middle of the Beverly Hills of Kuala Lumpur. He said the houses around this masjid are all multiple million-dollar houses. They're all high net worth individuals who live around this masjid. And alhamdulillah, I see that this masjid is completely full. I'm not being sarcastic. This masjid is full. If you cannot see some of the people who are sitting here, that's your problem. Because Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said in his hadith that when people gather for the dhikr of Allah, there are teams of malaika who rove the earth and search the earth for people who are gathered for the zikr of Allah Jalla Jalaluhu. And when they find them, they surround them and they get close to them. And the word of the hadith is such that it means close as if in an embrace. And they fill the space. And then when the space finishes, they layer tier upon tier till they reach the first heaven. So this masjid, alhamdulillah, is filled. Even though some of the people who are in the masjid are visible to us, and some of them and most of them are not visible to us, alhamdulillah, but they are there. And they are witness, and thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for that. Because Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that when this majlis is over, then these malaika go to Allah Jalla Jalaluhu and they report about his majlis. Even though Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not need their report, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows before they can tell him. And they say, oh Allah, we came from such and such a place, from Masjid Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu anhu, from in Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia. On that speck of grain of sand in this kainat of yours which is called the earth. And the malaika will say, we came from that small grain of sand called the earth. And on that grain of sand is a needle spot called Malaysia. And in that needle spot is a particle called Kuala Lumpur. And in that particle is this very small dot called Masjid Umar ibn al-Khattab. And we came from that place. And these people were gathered there only for the love of you. And they were gathered there to listen about you and to remember you. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who knows before they can tell him, Allah will ask them, what did they want? And they will say, Allah, they wanted your forgiveness and they wanted your Jannah. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who knows before they can tell him, will ask them, have they seen my Jannah? And they say, Ya Rab, no, they have not seen your Jannah. Then Allah will say, if they see the Jannah, then what would they want? And the malaika would say, Allah, if they saw your Jannah, they would want it even more. And then Allah will say, well, what else did they want? And they would say, oh Allah, they wanted freedom from the fire. They did not want to go to Jahannam. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who knows before he is told, he asks them, have they seen my Jahannam? They say, Ya Allah, they have not seen your Jahannam. Then Allah says, why then, if they saw the Jahannam, what would their state be? And the Malaika would say, "Ya Allah," they would beg for your forgiveness and they would beg for relief from the Jahannam, freedom from the fire even more. And then, my brothers and sisters, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will say to the Malaika that you be witness that on the day of judgment when they are presented before me, I will give them what they wanted and I will protect them from that which they wanted protection from. And these Malaika who are sitting here with us, who are listening to me speaking, and they are watching you listening, and they are watching you making notes, they will be our witness on the day of judgment, insha'Allah musta'an. So as I was telling you, I was informed, they said that this masjid is in the middle of the housing of very wealthy people. I said, Alhamdulillah, mashallah, very nice. You should be in the middle of wealthy people. Never be in the middle of poor people. Please understand this. Never be in the middle of poor people. Always be in the middle of wealthy people. Surround yourself with people of wealth. But before you decide to surround yourself with people of wealth, decide what is wealth. What is wealth? Never be among poor people. But before you reject poor people, decide who is poor. Who is poor? It is strange. It is strange that you are wealthy people. You live in multi-million-dollar mansions and you name your masjid after a man whose izar, whose trousers had 12 patches on them. Ajib. What do you call today if I walk into this masjid and you find there are patches, my thobe is torn and I stitched here and stitched there, what will you say? It's strange. Your will, your width, you live amongst all this wealth and you name your house, you made the masjid after a man who had 12 patches. The Sahaba, Sayyidina Ali bin Abi Talib and others, they went to his daughter, Hafsa radiallahu anha, and they took some cloth and they gave it to Hafsa radiallahu anha and they said, give this to your father and tell him to make some new clothes. It does not look nice for the Khalifatul Muslimin, for the Amirul Mu'minin to be wearing clothes which are torn, which have patches. And then they said, but don't tell them our name. Don't tell him our name. They knew Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu anhu. So Hafsa radiallahu anha, Ummul Mu'minin, our mother, the wife of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, the daughter of Umar ibn al-Khattab, when her father came to visit her, she said to her father, here is some cloths. And this has been presented by your brothers and they want you to make some new clothes because you wear torn clothes with patches on them. It doesn't look nice. They say it does not suit the Amirul Mu'minin, does not suit the king, does not suit the Khalifatul Muslimin. Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu anhu said, who said this? Tell me the name. And Hafsa radiallahu anha said, no. I will not tell you the name because they told me I should not tell you the name. I promise I cannot break my promise. So Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu anhu said, the only reason I do not do what I want to do is because you are the wife of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And then he said to her, tell me, what was the dress of your husband like? And Hafsa radiallahu anha, she remained silent. And then Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu anhu, the man who ruled over a kingdom much bigger than Malaysia, Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu anhu said, I wear these clothes because I am afraid that if I leave the way of my two companions, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will deny me their company on the day of judgment. And who are the two companions of Umar ibn al-Khattab? Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alayhi wa sallam and Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu anhu. He said, I am afraid that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not allow me into the company of my two companions who have gone before me. My brothers and sisters, surround yourself with wealthy people, but decide what is wealth first. Islam came to change the definition of wealth. The first disease of the heart, the most lethal of cardiac illnesses, is the definition of wealth. Islam came to change the definition of HNI, high net worth individual, from Abu Lahab to Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu. Abu Lahab was a wealthy man. Abu Lahab was a high net worth individual. He was a multi-millionaire of his time. In today's time, he would have been a multi-billionaire. Islam changed that definition from Abu Lahab to Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, who was also a wealthy man. The issue is, what did he do with his wealth? The wealth of Abu Lahab went in decorating himself, enjoying himself, feeding his nafs. And the wealth of Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu went in freeing slaves, went in spending for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala jalla jalaluhu. So Allah gave him the honor of not only being the Khalil of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, He gave him the honor of using that wealth, that pure wealth, to buy the land to build Masjid al-Nabawi al-Sharif. Abu Bakr as-Siddiq bought the land on which Masjid al-Nabawi al-Sharif was built, and I am talking about the original masjid, which is now what we know as Riyadul Jannah. That land was bought by Abu Bakr as-Siddiq. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not do things randomly. Allah picked the purest of the wealth and He gave that honor to that man, so that people will pray on that land till Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decides to keep that masjid. So that Muhammadur Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam made sujood, the blessed forehead of the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam touched the earth, which Abu Bakr as-Siddiq bought for the sake of Allah. Surround yourself with wealthy people, but decide first what is wealth. I come from a place called Hyderabad, and we had a king, Mir Usman Ali Khan, the Nizam of Hyderabad. And my grandfather Nawabuddin Azam was the head of security and police for his state. He was the Kotwal of Hyderabad. And our king, Mir Usman Ali Khan Bahadur, the Nizam of Hyderabad, the 7th Nizam, was the wealthiest individual that ever existed from Pharaoh Ramesses IV till today. Mir Usman Ali Khan had more wealth than the king of Saudi Arabia, than all the kings of Malaysia, than the king of Brunei, and everywhere. He had more wealth than all of them. And this is not in my imagination. There was a survey that was done and published. And they said, as a single individual, that man had more wealth than anybody who ever lived from the time of the Pharaoh of Egypt. And his grandson, one generation, his grandson today lives in a 2-bedroom apartment in Ankara in Turkey, because his mother was one of the princesses of the Sultan of Turkey. of the last Ottoman Sultan. She was the daughter of Princess Durra Shahwar. She was the daughter of the Sultan, and therefore the government of Turkey gives a pension. The grandson of the richest king who ever existed from the pharaoh till today lives in a 2-bedroom apartment in Turkey, in Ankara, on the pension of his mother. There is no amount of wealth that can last forever. What is your wealth compared to the wealth of Usman Ali Khan? It's not even worth a cent. How long do you think that will last? My brothers and sisters, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah Al-Hajj, He said, لا تعمل أبصار ولكن تعمل قلوب التي في الصدور. Allah said, it is not the eyes which go blind. It is the hearts in the chest, in the breast, which go blind. And you know why those hearts go blind? They go blind because these glasses which we wear on our hearts, those glasses get foggy, they get clouded. And as they get clouded, the more and more clouded they get, the more and more the heart is blinded. Al-Walid bin Marwan, the Khalifa of Bani Umayyah, came to Makkah for Umrah, and he asked if any of the Tabi'een were there alive. And they took him to one of the Tabi'un, one of the Awliya Allah, inshaAllah. And he asked him a question. He said, why do we fear death? He said, why do I dislike death? He said, I don't want to die. Why do I fear death? And this alim, this wali of Allah, he said to him that it is very natural. It is very natural that you love to live in the house that you have decorated. You love to live in the house that you have decorated. And you hate to go into a house which you have left desolate, viran, desolate. Many of us build houses. I'm sure many of you built your own houses. And you know and I know how much of time and energy and worry and mental pressure we spend over what kind of tiles we should have in the bathroom. I'm not even talking about and I see a lot of smiles on the faces of the sisters and a lot of grief on the face of the brothers because they have to pay for what you desire. Huh? Tiles in the amount of energy and mental, should it be this one or that one, and this color doesn't match and that color doesn't match. And when I listen to this, I say, and all the time you are sitting there doing what? You are worrying about whether the tile matches or it doesn't match. My question is, how much of time and energy do we spend over that house to which every single one of us will go and live in permanently until Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala raises us on the day of judgment? How many of us are worrying about what kind of lighting there is in that house? How many of us are worrying whether there is air conditioning in that house or not? People say Malaysia is a hot place. And alhamdulillah, may Allah bless you, I love coming to this country. And I was saying to somebody, the two countries where I always feel at home when I go, as if I've gone to my own home, is one is Malaysia, one is South Africa. The kind of welcome, warm-hearted people, mashallah. It's not only Malaysia, the country is warm. The hearts of the people of Malaysia are warm. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala keep them warm, alhamdulillah. So people tell me Malaysia is a hot country. I say, I don't know, because when I go to Malaysia, I never see the outside atmosphere. I am surrounded by wealthy people, so I am always living in air-conditioned homes or air-conditioned massages or air-conditioned offices, and I can only see the outside. It looks nice, but whether it's hot or cold, doesn't matter. I am living in air-conditioned surroundings. So my question is, when I go into my khabar, none of you will come with me. None of you will come with me. What is the air conditioning there? What am I doing about the air conditioning in my khabar? What am I doing about the lighting in my khabar? Or am I content to go into a dark hole in the ground? Sayyidina Uthman ibn Affan Radiallahu anhu, I'm giving you examples only of rich and wealthy Sahaba. Uthman ibn Affan Radiallahu anhu, when he used to go to a cemetery, to a graveyard, he would weep so much, his beard would become wet with tears. And somebody asked him, why do you cry so much? I mean, when you hear about the accounts of Jahannam and so on, you don't cry so much, but when you come to this place, you weep and weep and weep. Why do you cry so much? And he said, because I heard from my Habib Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam that the khabar, the grave, is the first stage of the akhirah. For the one for whom that first stage is made easy, the rest of it is easy. But the one who gets caught in that first stage, his akhirah is destroyed. And he said, I weep because I know that one day I will go there. And Allah protects those who are faithful to Him. Surround yourself with wealthy people. Uthman ibn Affan, one of the wealthiest of the Sahaba. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam says, who will give funds for Tabuk? And Uthman ibn Affan comes and says, Ya Rasulullah, I give 1,000 I will outfit 1,000 soldiers. Meaning their mounts, their armor, their weapons, provisions, everything, 1,000 soldiers. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, and more. He said, Ya Rasulullah, another 1,000 soldiers. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, more. He said, another 1,000 soldiers. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, more. He went to his house, he came back with bags, and he opened the bags, and he poured into the lap of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam gold dinars, gold coins, a heap of gold coins. And Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam put his fingers through the gold coins and he ran them through his fingers like this. And he said, after this, Uthman can do no wrong. He said, after this, Allah will not hold him accountable for anything. And how did he die? At the age of almost 90. Sitting there reading Quran. The ignorant people have rebelled. Ignorant people have rebelled. They surrounded his house. They do not let him come out. They stopped his water. They stopped his food. Sayyidina Ali bin Abi Talib came and he said to Uthman ibn Affan, he said, I have brought my two sons, Hassan and Hussein. They will stand here and they will die before anyone touches you. First he came and said, give me the permission, because you are the Khalifa, I cannot act without your permission. He said, give me the permission, I will destroy them. I said, I have the power. I have an army. He said, I will finish them. Uthman ibn Affan said, no. He said, I will not allow any blood to be spilled on my account. I am saying this to you because one of the diseases of the heart today is the differences between the Muslims. We don't like somebody because of how whether he makes Rafa'idhain or he does not make Rafa'idhain. On all kinds of furu'i matters, we divide the ummah. See the behavior of the Sahaba of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, thanks to whom there was an ummah. rebel against the Khalifa of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is irtidad. It takes you out of Islam. To threaten the Khalifa, to want to kill the Khalifa is irtidad. It takes you out of Islam. Uthman ibn Affan could have given the fatwa to say these are all murtaddin. These people have exited Islam. Go and kill them, chase them away. Did he give that fatwa? He said to Ali bin Abi Talib, no. He said, do not draw your sword. I will not allow any blood of a Muslim to be spilled on my account. Then Ali bin Abi Talib said, I will leave my two sons here, the grandsons of Muhammadur Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the sons of Fatima Zahra radiallahu anha. He said, I will leave them here. They will protect you, and they only after they are killed will anyone be able to come to you. He said, no, take them back. I will not allow any harm to happen to the family of Rasulullah on my account. And he is sitting there. And they told him, just give up your khilafah. He said, Rasulullah told me that Allah will give you a mishlah, will give you a cloak. And people will want to take it out. And he said, do not take it out. Do not take it off. And he was fasting that day. He was fasting, he was reading Quran. And he said to them, he said, today I saw Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in my dream. And Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Uthman, today you will make iftar with me. So he said, I'm waiting to go to make iftar with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Surround yourself with wealthy people. And when they killed him, his blood stained the page of the Mus'haf which he was reading. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala caused that Mus'haf to be preserved till today. My brothers and sisters, we are sitting in the house of Allah. I ask myself that we are in the middle of this locality of wealthy people. May Allah protect your wealth and preserve your wealth and enable you to benefit from this wealth and not make this wealth a source of questioning for you on the Day of Judgment. You had an invitation this morning to come to the house of the king. I'm asking you this question. Supposing this morning you had an invitation, supposing there was a talk to say the king is going to invite people today, this morning, to come and have breakfast with him. How many of you would be waiting to say, will the king invite me? Will I get an invitation? And if you did not get an invitation, how many of you would say, why did I not get an invitation? Why did I not get an invitation? Is the king not pleased with me? Did I do something wrong? And how many of you will say, will go and chase and say, no, find me an invitation. I want an invitation. How can I get an invitation? Do I need to ask somebody? Do I need to pay some money for it? What do I need to do? I need to be invited. How can all the others go to the house of the king and I am the only one sitting in my house? What will the people say? He is the only one who wasn't invited. Do you think you will do this or you won't do this? Am I exaggerating? And this morning, from the house of the king, an invitation was sent. Hayya ala salah, Hayya ala al-falah. How many of us came to the house of this king? تعالى الله الملك الحق لا إله إلا هو رب العرش الكريم. Who is the king who is bigger than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala jalla jalaluhu? And when he invites, how many of us answer that invitation? How many of us are concerned? How come I did not hear this invitation? Because we do not hear with these ears, we hear with the heart. People go to the house of the king, they go to the masjid of Allah, not because they hear the adhan, but because what the adhan does to them in their heart. Everybody hears the adhan. The people who are Muslim and the people who are not Muslim also they hear the adhan. But who goes to the masjid? The one who goes to the masjid is the one to whom the adhan does something. The question I ask myself is, did the adhan do anything to me this morning? And if the adhan did not do something to me in the morning, then there is a sign of disease in my heart. And what is the dalil of this? The dalil of this is the kalam of Allah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in Surah Al-Anfal, He described the qualities of the mu'mineen. He described the qualities of the believers. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم إنما المؤمنون الذين إذا ذكر الله وجلت قلوبهم وإذا تليت عليهم آياته زادتهم إيمانا وعلى ربهم يتوكلون الذين يقيمون الصلاة ومما رزقناهم ينفقون أولئك هم المؤمنون حقا لهم درجات عند ربهم ومغفرة ورزق كريم. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala described the qualities of the believers. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, verily the mu'mineen are those whose hearts shiver with the fear and the grace and the majesty of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala whenever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is mentioned before them. Is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned before us? Do we know when it says Hayya ala Salah, do we know who the invitation is coming from? Is the name of the inviter being announced before that or not? Please listen and listen carefully, my brothers and sisters. Before the invitation in the adhan, two other things happen. Before the invitation in the adhan, the name of the one who is inviting is announced. And then the relationship of the guest with the host is announced. Your relationship, my relationship with the inviter is announced, and only then is the invitation given. Have you ever heard the adhan and listened to the adhan with this understanding? Think about this. We hear the adhan every day. What is the adhan? Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. He is the one who is inviting. Allahu Akbar. And then our relationship with him. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. There is no one worthy of worship except Allah. Is this our relationship with Allah or not? No one worthy of worship except Allah. A relationship is declared. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. And who taught us this? How to worship? Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. And then the invitation is given to you who just accepted Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. There is no one worthy of worship except Allah. And then the invitation is given. Hayya ala salah. You just said that there is no one worthy of worship except Allah. So come to the worship of Allah. Show that you are speaking the truth. This relationship was announced on your behalf. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Now prove that this statement was right. Hayya ala salah. And what will happen if you pray? What will happen if you pray? Hayya alal falah. Hayya alal falah. You will get falah. You will get success. Come to success. You want to become successful, come to the place where success is being distributed. And then the reminder, the signature on the invitation, in the name of the inviter, and then the signature on the invitation. Who is the invitation from? Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, La ilaha illallah. Innamal mu'minuna alladhina idha dhukira Allahu wajilat qulubuhum. I told you, those who come do not come because they hear the adhan. They come because of what the adhan does to their heart. Wajilat qulubuhum. Wa idha tuliyat alayhim ayatuhu zadathum imana. When the ayat of Allah are recited before them, their iman increases. When they see the ayat and signs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala around them, their iman increases. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us diagnostic tools. to decide whether there is disease in my heart or not, and that is why I am presenting these ayat before you, because that is the topic of my lecture, diseases of the heart. So let me give you the tools to see whether our hearts are diseased or whether they are healthy. First tool, does anything happen to my heart when I hear the name of Allah? Second tool, what happens to my heart and my iman when I hear the ayat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala being recited, and when I see the signs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala around me? Does anything happen to my heart or not? What should happen? My iman should increase. I must say, Subhanallah, this is my Rabb. This is the one I worship. My iman increases. So let us do the test. Let me recite for you the introduction of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in His kalam, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الله لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم لا تأخذه سنة ولا نوم له ما في السماوات وما في الأرض من ذا الذي يشفع عنده إلا بإذنه يعلم ما بين أيديهم وما خلفهم ولا يحيطون بشيء من علمه إلا بما شاء وسع كرسيه السماوات والأرض ولا يؤوده حفظهما وهو العلي العظيم. الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله والله أكبر الله أكبر ولله الحمد. هو الله الذي لا إله إلا هو عالم الغيب والشهادة هو الرحمن الرحيم. هو الله الذي لا إله إلا هو الملك القدوس السلام المؤمن المهيمن العزيز الجبار مؤمن المهيمن العزيز الجبار المتكبر. سبحان الله عما يشركون. هو الله الخالق البارئ المصور له الأسماء الحسنى يسبح له ما في السماوات والأرض وهو العزيز الحكيم. الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله والله أكبر الله أكبر ولله الحمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. Diagnostic scan over. What is the report? Only you can tell. Only I can tell. What is the report of the condition of my heart? Diagnostic test is over. Scan is over. وَعَلَىٰ رَبِّهِمْ يَتَوَكَّلُونَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala described the consequence of this. Those whose heart shivers, whose hearts shiver with the grace and majesty and awe and magnificence of Allah, and whose iman is raised when they read the Quran, when they listen to the Quran, whose iman is raised and strengthened when they see the ayat of Allah around them. What happens to them? They have tawakkul on Allah. Tawakkul only on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Nobody and nobody else. My brothers and sisters, Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam mentioned the sickness of the heart. And he mentioned this in a hadith in Sunan Abu Dawud. The hadith is in Sunan Abu Dawud, narrated by Thawban radiallahu anhu. He said that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, the people of the world will soon summon one another, they will call one another to attack you, as people invite each other when they are eating to share in their food. Someone asked, will that be because we will be small in number? Rasulullah said, no. You will be numerous. You will be numerous at that time, but you will be like the scum and rubbish that is carried down on the surface of the torrent. You will be like the scum and rubbish, the foam on the flood waters. And Allah will take away the izzah. He will take away the izzah and the fear and the khawf of you that is in the hearts of people today. Allah will take away your izzah from the hearts of people, and He will put wahan in your hearts. He will put wahan in your hearts. And somebody asked, Ya Rasulullah, what is wahan? And Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Hubbud dunya wa karahiyatul maut. He said, love for the dunya and dislike of death. Dislike to leave the dunya. Everybody dislikes death itself because we fear the pain of the death. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make all your deaths very, very easy, inshallah. Full of khair, inshallah. Like Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, when the believer dies, it's like a drop of water which falls from the jug. May Allah make your death like that. Because one day it is going to come. There's no escape from it. So when it comes, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it such that it is very easy and simple. But the dislike is the dislike to leave this dunya because we love this dunya. Hubbud dunya, and related to hubbud dunya, karahiyatul maut. Dislike for death. My dear brothers and sisters, both of these illnesses are related only to one thing, and that thing is lack of yaqeen in the akhirah. Believe me, say whatever you want. If we love this dunya, if the dunya is in our heart, there's only one reason for it. And that reason is that we think that we will stay here forever. No matter how illogical that might seem, no matter how illogical that might seem, that is the reason. This is the reason that Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam told us. Why do people fear death? Because of this. Because they love the dunya. And that love of the dunya is called ghafla, forgetfulness. We forget where we are, we forget who we are. We forget that we have to leave this world no matter how much we have. And we forget that the more you have, the more difficult it will be to leave that. The one who has nothing, the one who has a little, for him to leave it is easy. But the one who spent his whole life accumulating and accumulating, especially if he spent his life accumulating without worrying about the means. I must have money. No matter how it comes. What happens to that person when the time comes to die? Remember that life will stick in every brick in your palace. Before your soul comes out, it will stick in every hole, in every tile, in every coin, and it will not be easy. It will not be easy. Ghafla, forgetfulness. And that is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, Ala bi dhikrillahi tatma'innul qulub. Itminan of the qalb. The fear, the feeling of safety, the feeling of comfort, the lack of fear of the qalb is in what? Not in money, not in wealth. Wealth adds to the fear. The more you have, the more you fear losing it. Wealth adds to the fear. Wealth doesn't take away fear. This is one of the figments of the imagination. One of the deceptions of the world. I just completed a series of, many of you get the Fajr reminder every day which we send out from our masjid. And I just completed a series of Fajr reminders on deceptions of the world. Listen to that. The deception of the world is, if I surround myself with material stuff, I am safe. But the reality is, the more you have, the more you fear losing it. The more you fear losing it. The less you have, the less fear. Hasan al-Basri rahmatullahi alayhi is standing in Salah in Tahajjud. And while he is praying, he hears a noise, as if a burglar has entered his house. So Hasan al-Basri rahmatullahi alayhi, he completes his Salah. When he finishes his Salah, there is a man standing there. And his burglar was also a Muslim. And he was a funny man, he stood there, he asked Hasan al-Basri, he said, what kind of a man are you? There is nothing in your house. So Hasan al-Basri said, who are you? He said, I am a thief. I came to steal and there is nothing in your house. He said, how do you live like this? The thief is giving him advice. He is giving advice to Hasan al-Basri. He said, how do you live like this? You have nothing in the house. So Hasan al-Basri said, no, I have something. He said, what? He said, no, I'll give you. You came to take from my house, you will not go empty-handed. He said, I will give you. He said, where is it? He said, go make wudu and come. He said, make wudu and come. So the thief said, okay, well, I've got nothing to lose. This man says he will give me something. So make wudu and come. Maybe he's going to give me gold. Don't touch gold without wudu. Huh? How many of you make wudu before you touch gold? So Hasan al-Basri, the man makes wudu and comes, and Hasan al-Basri says, come stand here, next to me. And in Tahajjud is Allahu Akbar. And then Hasan al-Basri recites Quran, and he is praying, and the man is standing next to him, and he is praying in the imamat of Hasan al-Basri rahmatullahi alayhi. You can only give what you have. You can only give what you have. You can go to the king today. The palace is nearby. You can go to the king and you can meet the king and you can tell the king, you can say to him, I have a very bad headache. I have a terrible migraine. Please give me medicine. What will the king do? The king will say, here is some money, go to the doctor. No, I have come to you. You prescribe medicine for me. What will the king say? The king will say, I have no medicine. I'm not a doctor. I don't know what medicine. I don't know why your head is aching. I can't help you. He says, what? You are a king. You can't help me. I'm a king, but I'm not a doctor. I can only give what I have. I can only give what I have. I have money. I can give you money. But I don't have what you want. Hassan al-Basri said, I can only give what I have. And what does Hassan al-Basri have? Hassan al-Basri has Allah. The man came for money, the man came to steal material. Hassan al-Basri said, I don't have that, I can't give you. I can only give you what I have. What do I have? I have my Allah. I have my Rabb. So stand here next to me. When the salah is finished, the thief is weeping. He makes tawbah. And he says, Jazakumullahu khair. You gave me a wealth which I could never have stolen. And you gave it to me without stealing. He said, I make tawbah from this life of mine. I will not steal anymore. What is the state of us? Ghafla. And the second cause is persistence in sin. Continuing to sin. We know something is wrong, we still do it. The ulama have said that there are two reasons for persistence in sin. One is that you believe that Allah is not seeing you sinning. If you actually believe Allah is not seeing you, this is khalas, end of Islam. The second one is that you don't believe that Allah is not seeing, but you don't care. There is no shame to commit a sin even though I believe that Allah is watching. Now what kind of iman is that? What kind of iman is that? My brothers and sisters, what is the cure for this? Two things. Number one, sincere tawbah. We thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for giving us this wealth of tawbah. What would we do if Allah had not given us this wealth of tawbah? But Allah gave us this. He left the door open. Until we see the malaika, until we see Malakul Maut, the door of tawbah is open. So what should we do? We make sincere tawbah. Let us do it right now. Let not this talk be a witness against you and me. Let Allah not make me a witness against myself to say that you said this to the people but you did not make tawbah. Let Allah not make me a witness against you to say that you heard him say this but you did not make tawbah. So let us make tawbah right now as we sit here. I make tawbah and you are my witness and you make tawbah and we are all each other's witnesses that we make tawbah to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yes? That we will not commit sin, insha'Allah al-musta'an, knowingly. What happens unknowingly, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will ask him for his forgiveness, but knowingly we will not disobey Allah. Make this niyyah from today. Make tawbah. Ensure that you earn halal. Leave haram sources of wealth. Ensure that you speak only which is good. Leave riba and slandering. You might say, well, now what do I do at my kitty party? Think of something else to do. Or forget kitty parties, even better than that. Whoever invented that word kitty party, I am amazed that the ladies who are so, mashallah, feminist, you can't think of a better word than that. What's a kitty party? You don't have kitty parties in Malaysia. Alhamdulillah, stay like that. Don't ask me what is it, I won't tell you. Yeah, it's there in India and everywhere. Kitty parties. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless the Malaysian sisters. And may Allah increase you in your ignorance about such things, inshallah. We make tawbah. And the second thing which cleans the heart is dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And my brothers and sisters, dhikr is not only walking around with beads or sitting in a halaqah and so on. Alhamdulillah, do make dhikr in a halaqah, nothing wrong with that. I'm saying don't restrict it to that. Dhikr is constant remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in everything that we say, in everything that we do, and in all the ahwal of our lives. في كل أعمال وفي كل أقوال وفي كل أحوال البارزة والخفي. This is from the aqwal of Imam al-Nawawi rahmatullah alayh, the great Shafi'i alim. He said, al-idhar al-niyah, being conscious of the niyah. في كل أعمال في كل أقوال وفي كل عمل وفي كل أحوال البارزة والخفي, being aware and having izhar of the niyah in everything that we say, in everything that we do, and in all the situations that we find ourselves in our lives, whether this is hidden or whether this is visible. So to have the zikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to have zikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, continuously to remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in all aspects of our lives. I want to end with dua by asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to fill your hearts with His nur, to fill your lives with His dhikr. Make the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala the most common word that is used in your language, in your conversation, at home, in your workplace, everywhere. Let this become part of your normal conversation. What does Allah think about this? Will this thing please Allah or not? What will I answer to Allah about this? Make the name of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam the most common word that you use. What was Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam's way of doing this? What would Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, what would he have done if he was here? Let your children talk about this. Let your children talk about this. I still remember I was in New York. We were in a Jamaat in New York, and one of our brothers was taking us from one masjid to another masjid. And in the car was this little 4-year-old son. So while we were driving, this little boy, he tells his father, he said, Daddy, I asked Allah 40 times. So I asked the father, I said, what did he ask Allah 40 times? So his father told me a wonderful thing, which is something about upbringing of children. He said to him that, we have taught him, my wife and I, we have taught him, that anything you want, ask Allah. Anything you want, ask Allah. So he said, he comes to the mother, he says, I want some chocolate, she says, ask Allah. And he says, from the beginning, right from the beginning. So he has a little musalla, he goes and puts his musalla, he makes wudu, he goes and puts his musalla, he makes 2 rakat of salah, and he says, Ya Allah, tell my mom to give me chocolate. Then he comes and says, Mom, I asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He says, yes, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put in my heart, here is your chocolate. Everything we taught him, ask Allah, ask Allah, ask Allah. So the father says, today, he knew that I am going to take you to that masjid, and his friend lives on the way to the masjid, so he wanted to go and visit his friend. So he told me, Daddy, can I come with you? Will you drop me to my friend's place? So I said to him, you ask Allah. You can get into the car, you ask Allah. If Allah puts in my heart, I will drop you off. If He does not put in my heart, you come with me, we'll go home. So he got into the car, and now he's telling me he asked Allah 40 times whether he can go to his friend's house. So he said, we'll just take a detour and drop him with a friend. And if he asks Allah 40 times, well, I better not say no, huh? Make Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala the most beloved name, the most beloved word. Make it common amongst your children. Let not the name of Allah be a stranger in your homes. Let not the name of Muhammadur Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam be a stranger in your homes. So I make dua, may Allah fill your lives with His nur, may Allah fill your life with His barakah, May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala enable you to become the standard bearers of Islam. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala enable you to be people who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will be pleased with in this dunya wal akhirah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make you the champions of Islam in this dunya, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala raise you as champions of Islam on the day of judgment in the akhirah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give you children who are qurratul ayn, who are the coolness of your eyes. MashaAllah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given some people who are the coolness of their own eyes, and has given people who have children who are also the coolness of my eyes. But that particular coolness is sitting outside there and hiding. Bring him inside here. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give you children who will be a source of rahmah, a source of sadaqatul jariyah for you when you are gone. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give you children who are a source of honor for you in the dunya wal akhirah. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give all that I have asked. And I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give everything that you ask with khair. And I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give you whatever you and I have not asked from Him. Let Him give this to you as His gift to you, insha'Allah al-musta'an. Wa sallallahu ala nabiyil kareem wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in bi rahmatika ya arhamar rahimin.
Some people hear the case of they still don't see knowing.
Then they are not hearing the Hadi asked this question, the diagnosis of the heart. He said that when you hear the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, something happens in your heart. But he said there are some people when they hear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's name, something happens in the heart, but they still commit sin. What do you say about such people? I say, La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. Obviously, it means that nothing is really happening. Because how can something be happening and you still do nothing? I got it. How can something be happening and you still do nothing? So you have to question yourself and say, really is something happening or not, right? Is network marketing halal? You have to ask the muftiin. I am not a mufti, ask the mufti. How to ensure your daily decision and major decision gets the rida of Allah? MashaAllah, very good question. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us the criterion. And what is the criterion? لَقَدْ كَانَ لَكُمْ فِي رَسُولِ اللَّهِ أُسْوَةٌ حَسَنَةٌ لِمَنْ كَانَ يَرْجُو اللَّهَ وَالْيَوْمَ الْآخِرَ وَذَكَرَ اللَّهَ كَثِيرًا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said the best example for you is the example of the life of my Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So therefore, if I want to know my decision and if I want to know whether my action is right or not, what must I do? Compare it with the sunnah of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. If our decision, if our action is like the sunnah of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, alhamdulillah, it has the rida of Allah. If it is different from the sunnah, then there is a doubt. If it is against the sunnah, then definitely it is wrong. Third question, I want to repent and be sure that I get to focus 100% on repenting, but I often lose focus. Kindly advise. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, from the shaitan, فَاسْتَعِذْ بِاللَّهِ مِنَ الشَّيْطَانِ الرَّجِيمِ. This is from shaitan, so say أَعُوذُ بِاللَّهِ مِنَ الشَّيْطَانِ الرَّجِيمِ. Ask the protection of Allah from shaitan and make tawbah and continue to make tawbah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala opened the door of tawbah, who can stop you? So ask Allah's protection from shaitan and make tawbah, inshallah, Allah will accept. How to keep being positive in life, and always remember that test in life has a hikmah behind it. You are answering your own question. The test in life has a hikmah behind it. So therefore, what do? You are positive. Tell me, what is the alternative we have? Sometimes people say, how can I be positive? So my question is, okay, so be negative. No problem. If you think that being negative is going to solve your problem, then be negative. The idea is to solve the problem, right? If you got a problem, you want to solve it. So if you say, no, how can I be positive? No problem, be negative. Will the problem go away? It won't go away. The problem will actually become bigger. So frankly, there is no choice but to be positive. There is no point in being negative, because being negative does not solve anything. Being positive has a chance. You might say, well, does being positive solve everything? No. Being positive does not solve everything, but it solves most things. Being negative solves nothing. So now you got a choice of these two things. What do you do? And then, what is your advice to a wife whose husband is not praying? She advised him, but he doesn't listen. Keep advising in the nice way. You keep praying, keep making dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is the end of your responsibility. If he still does not pray, that is his problem. He will face with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? Don't make fatwa on him. Don't say you are a kafir, you exit Islam, because you will create problem for yourself. So, don't make fatwa. Just tell him, advise him, and say, Alhamdulillah, this is what Allah should do. You keep praying, recite Quran, talk about the greatness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to him, take him to meet somebody who can put some sense into his head. Alhamdulillah, you can do all of that. Make dua, and inshallah that will be enough. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to put power in your dua, so that your husband starts praying from this Salatul Zuhr in a few, not minutes, but a couple of hours from now, inshallah. Salam, how do I get my son to be a Hafiz? He is 9. By making him memorize the Quran. Is there some other way? A good way to make your son a Hafiz is to start memorizing the Quran yourself. This is the problem with parents. I want my son to be this. What about you? What about you? Forget your son. You become Hafiz first. Your son will automatically become Hafiz. Your son today has no role model. Who is the Hafiz? Somebody outside. Mother is the mother Hafiz? No. Father Hafiz? No. Who is the Hafiz? So and so. Who cares? So and so. You start memorizing the Quran yourself. You will become an inspiration for your son. Inshallah. Don't force children. That makes no sense. If you force them, you beat them. This is one of the biggest musibah in our ummah. Almost every hifz school that I have seen, the teacher has a very high-tech tool that they use to make hufaz. What is that high-tech tool? A stick. Beat the Quran into them. Hammer the Quran into them. Take one ayah, put it on his head and hammer. Bang, 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 bang. Go to the side. One more ayah. Bang, 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 bang. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. And then we stand on the mimbar and we say, Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam did not even frown at children. And then we get off the mimbar and we hammer the child. Maybe we do it while smiling. I'm getting so much pleasure out of hammering the kid. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. We make the children hate the Quran instead of loving the Quran. Don't force children. You recite, you memorize, you make the Quran a part of your life. Sit with the Quran every day, have a session in your house, after some salah, maybe Maghrib, maybe Isha, sit with the children, talk to them about the greatness of Allah, do ta'lim of hadith, do ta'lim of tafsir and Quran in the house. They will love the Quran, they will come to you and say, Daddy, Mummy, I want to become a Hafiz. Then take them to the hifz school. Then, how to differentiate between temptation and reward, taking into consideration that we are to count our blessings and be grateful with what we already possess, so that when something that seems to be too good to be true presents itself in front of us, how do we differentiate it as either temptation? Usually the word temptation means something that leads to the anger of Allah. Temptation is something that leads to the anger of Allah, something which is haram, something which is taking us away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Some kind of, it may not be something which is completely haram, it might be something which leads to haram, this is also wrong, it might be something which diverts our attention, takes us away. For example, you're watching this football match. Now football match is not, playing football is not haram, watching it is not haram, but we might be sitting in this at this time of this game and we are right at this moment when this goal is going to be scored and the adhan goes off. Now what do you do? What do you do? You say, no, masjid is still there, let's finish this goal. That is the problem, that is the temptation, because it is taking you away from the masjid. Now imagine, remember this thing, imagine if you die at that moment. You had a chance of dying in the masjid. Instead, you chose to die in front of the TV screen. That is the choice. That is the choice. Somebody sent me this story. Wallah alam, I hope it is true. But it's a beautiful story anyway. They sent me the story. They said that there was a husband and wife, and the husband would phone the wife from the workplace as he was leaving, and he would say, "Please cook this for me." And she would cook. And his wife had her own practice that anytime she heard the adhan go off in the masjid, immediately she would go for salah. She wouldn't go to the masjid, she's praying in the house, but immediately she would pray. As soon as they hear the adhan, immediately she would start her salah. This was her practice. She used to do that. So this husband used to phone. So one day the husband phoned and he said, "I'm coming." And he asked her to make, the Palestinians and Syrians and Lebanese, they make this thing with grape leaves. They put filling in the grape leaves and they wrap it and they steam it and so on. So he said, "I want to eat that, please make that for me." Now that is a time consuming thing. It's not easy. It's not, like instant coffee. So she started making this. And as she started making it, she kept putting them, and there were about 4 or 5 left. Adhan went. So now she thought to herself, well, my husband is on his way home. It's just 3 or 4 left. Maybe I can just finish these 3, put them in the pot, and then I can go and pray. Then she thought to herself, it is my practice, any time Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala calls, I go. I've never delayed in that. Why should I delay today? I finish my salah, then I come back to this field. So she left those 3, 4 like that, and she went off to pray. She made wudu, and she started praying. She started her salah. Husband came home. He called his wife. There is no sound. He opened the door of the house. He came inside. No sign of the wife. He went into the kitchen, and he sees all these things made there, and 3 or 4 left. And he said, "Oh, what would have happened if you had..." He's saying to himself, he's talking to himself. He said, "What would have happened if you had finished this?" And then he went to look for her. Where is she? She is in sujood. She has passed away. She has died. In sajda she died. So he suddenly saw her. She is dead in sujood. And the question in his mind is, what is the question he asked himself? What would have happened if you had finished this? What would have happened? She would have died in the kitchen instead of dying in sujood. That is the question. The question is that. So how do you differentiate this temptation from reward? If it is taking you to ghafla, if it is taking you somewhere away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it is temptation. And we do not do that. Reward, alhamdulillah, if Allah gives me wealth in a halal way, if Allah gives me wealth without me sacrificing the rights of Allah, without me sacrificing the rights of the people, no malfunctioning of huququllah, no malfunctioning of huququl ibad. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives me wealth in spite of all that, and then this wealth I spend in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Remember, what did I say? The difference in wealth between Abu Lahab and Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu. Is it the amount you have or what you do with the amount? Which one? What you do with the amount. Abu Lahab, what did he do with the amount? He spent it on himself purely. Is Abu Lahab known for charity? And remember, we are not talking about Muslim, non-Muslim. Hatim al-Tai was not a Muslim, but Hatim al-Tai is known for charity. Is Abu Lahab known for charity? No. Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anhu, what did he do with his wealth? He spent it to free slaves. So if it is wealth, alhamdulillah, Allah has given you. MashaAllah, alhamdulillah. What am I spending it in? Remember, how to differentiate between temptation and reward? Think of the questions of the day of Hashr. Think of the questions of the day of Hashr. What are the questions? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will ask, what did you do with the life that I gave you? The time that I gave you? What did you do with that? Allah will not say, how long did you live? Allah will ask, how did you live? Second question, what did you do with your youth? Allah has given me youth. Allah has made me strong. What do I do with that youth? Do I spend that strength and that health in the obedience of Allah, or do I spend it in disobeying Allah? Third question, what did you do with the wealth that I gave you? Where did you earn it from and where did you spend it? So let us remember these questions, inshallah. And that will help us to differentiate between temptation and reward. Somebody who's asking a question about how much of anger for the ex-husband who is not executing his duties towards my children, but the current wife controls everything. Well, these are some of the issues of life. I always say, think of it positively. What is the positive? The positive is that this husband of yours who is not fulfilling his rights towards his children and towards you is actually building for you palaces in Jannah. So thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He is giving his wealth to you in the Jannah on the day of judgment. So thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Send him a thank you note. Thank you for the palace in Jannah, because this month's payment you didn't send. Send him a thank you note. Thank you for giving me your good deeds on the day of judgment. I look forward to receiving them from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I hope you are doing more good deeds, because they will all come to me. Here is my thank you note for that. I should thank you for this, inshallah. Send him. Drive him crazy by smiling. People must remember, Allah has rights on us and people have rights on us. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala may forgive us even if we do not fulfill His rights. I am not saying we should not, we have to fulfill, but Allah is Allah. Allah is Ghafur Rahim. But your wife is not Ghafur Rahim. Your husband is not Ghafur Rahim. Your father and mother, children are not Ghafur Rahim. Those people whose rights you are not fulfilling in the world, they are not Ghafur Rahim. They will not forgive you, believe me, on the day of judgment. They will extract every penny, and they will extract them from your good deeds. There's no way of paying them back on that day. So be very careful before you deny people their rights. Health insurance, does it mean I'm not placing my faith in Allah? Well, whether you're placing your faith in Allah or not, you should know. Right? As far as health insurance, is it jaiz, not jaiz? Ask the muftiyin. How can a new Muslim do when he always commits the same sin, like not able for salah, and a new Muslim not able to wear the hijab? They know it's sinful. Now, there is a difference between not able and not doing, not able and not willing. If you are not able, there is no sin on you. If you are not able, there is no sin on you. I can't do salah. Whatever is Allah, how somebody is not able, but if you are not able to do salah, because salah can be done sitting, can be done standing, can be done lying down, can be done only with isharat, can be done in a car, can be done anywhere. So if you say, I can't do salah, what is the nature of that? Wallahu alam. But if you can't do and it is an ability issue, then there is no sin. Allah will forgive, inshallah. But if you are not willing to do, if you won't do, then you have to look out for that. Same thing for hijab. I can't do hijab. Why? Because my head is made of grease. So every time I put the cloth, it slides off. What can I do? I've got a head of glass. Nothing stays on it. Nail it down. What do you mean can't do it? What's can't about it? You don't want to do that. You don't want to do that. Wallahu alam, maybe some sisters live in such difficult circumstances that if they wear a hijab, somebody will physically assault them or something. In that case, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, may Allah forgive you and make it easy for you, inshallah. But please understand, don't put all these burdens on yourself, by yourself. Wear the hijab and make dua to Allah. Oh Allah, I put this on for you. Oh Allah, this is by your quwwat and your khudrat, by your power that I put this on. Ya Allah, the one who wants to take it off, let him face your power. Make this dua. Let him face your power if he wants to take off my hijab. I put this on in your name. I make you witness that I put this hijab on to please you. The one who wants to take it off, let him face you. Let me see who takes it off. Allah will paralyze his hand. Allah will paralyze his tongue. Allah will take away his life. If he touches you even. Why are you so weak? Ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, remembering who you are asking. You are asking the Fatiru samawati wal ard, Khaliqu samawati wal ard, Raziqu samawati wal ard, Maliku samawati wal ard, Malikul arshil kareem, Rabbul arshil kareem, Malikul haq. That is the one you are asking. Why are you afraid? Don't worry about your abilities. Don't worry about your power. Ask Him in His name. Ask Him with His power. He will give. If He can make a pregnant camel come out of a mountain for the dua of Saleh alayhi salam, He cannot make you keep hijab on your head, even if the whole world turns against you. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. Strengthen your iman. You don't worship a tree, you don't worship a stone. You worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Jalla Jalaluhu. Ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as it is His right to be asked. Oh Allah, give me because I am asking you. Give me because only you can give. Give me because I ask you and I don't ask anybody else. I have asked you and I will not ask anybody else. You are witness, I will not ask anybody else. You want to give me through somebody, that is your choice. I am not asking you to give me through anybody. I am asking you. You give me directly. I asked you directly. You told me to ask you directly. You said, Ud'uni. You said, ask me. You did not say, ask me through this one or that one. You said, Ud'uni, ask me. I asked you. Now give me because I asked you. Give me because I asked you in the way you told me to ask you. Edit out these horrible sounds. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. Build a connection with Allah. Wallahi. Build a connection with Allah. Subhanallah. I mean, how poor can you get? How poor can you get? The one who does not worship Allah does not worship Allah. The one who does not know Allah does not know Allah. What about the ones who worship Allah but they don't know Allah? What about the ones who stand in Salah and they don't know Allah? They don't even know who they are asking. What about the ones who make dua and they don't even know who they are asking? How poor can you get? You cannot make salah. That is like saying, I have cancer but I cannot take the medicine. Then die. What is the answer to that? You cannot take the medicine. Why? Your lips are stable. What do you mean you can't take the medicine? Salah is a tool. Salah is the weapon. Salah is the resource. Salah is the power. Salah is the connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You can't make salah. What do you mean you can't make salah? Ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and He will open the doors. This is another very important question. I know a brother, he is my close friend, but he likes to argue and debate in a harsh and rude way, especially when it comes to the topic of practicing Islam according to Sunnah, the problem is the way he argued with me. I'm very upset with him and try to avoid talking with him as I don't like debating with him. I feel guilty because of my anger towards him and I don't have patience with him. Please give advice. The best advice is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave. وَإِذَا خَاطَبَهُمُ الْجَاهِلُونَ قَالُوا سَلَامًا. Say Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, my brother. That's the best advice. Khalas. Don't argue with people. There's no sense in arguing with people. There's no sense in responding to rudeness. It gives importance to that rudeness. If a donkey is braying, do you bray back at the donkey? If a dog is barking, do you bark back at the dog? No. Don't give importance to rude behavior. Don't acknowledge that rude behavior. If somebody is behaving in a rude way, even if they are talking about the Quran and Sunnah, please understand, people have this misconception. Just because I am telling you to do something according to the Quran and Sunnah, I have a right to say it rudely. No, you don't have a right to say it rudely. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam never said it rudely. A man came into the masjid and he was praying 2 rakat tahiyatul masjid. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was sitting there with the Sahaba. The man prayed 2 rakat salah and he came and he said, Assalamu alaikum ya Rasulullah. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, Wa alaikum assalam, go and pray again. You have not prayed. The man went back, he prayed, he came back, he said, Assalamu alaikum. He said, Wa alaikum assalam. He said, go back and pray. You have not prayed. The man went again, he came back again. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, Wa alaikum assalam, go back and pray. You have not prayed. The man said, Ya Rasulullah, I only know this. I don't know how else to pray. So Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam stood up and he showed him how to pray. Hassan and Hussein, radiyallahu anhuma, they came and they saw an old man, an elderly man, he was making wudu. And the man was making wudu incorrectly, wrongly. Now, wrong wudu means there is no salah. So what did they do? These are the grandsons of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And I'm not talking, they were not small children. At that time they were grown up. What did they do? Did they say, what kind of a stupid man you are? You are an old man, you don't even know how to make wudu? Did they say that? No. No. Hassan radiallahu anhu said to the man, he said to him, he said, Ya Ammi, Ya my uncle, my Sheikh. He said, I want to make wudu, please correct me. I just want to make sure that I make the wudu properly. Please look at me, please correct me. And he started making wudu. He completed his whole wudu. And the man said, May Allah bless you. I got the message. He didn't tell the man you are wrong. He said, you correct me. I want to make wudu. You correct me. The man knows who he is talking to. He knows this is the grandson of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. He knows that this man's wudu will be correct. Therefore, if he is showing me, what does it mean? He is not stupid. Let not your Islam become a problem for people. The Islam of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was such that people were drawn to him. People were drawn to him to the extent that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had to reveal Quran to say, leave my Nabi alone. When he invites you, Surah Al-Ahzab, read the ayat, when he invites you for a meal, go at the time of the meal, eat and fantashiru, go away. Don't sit there, mustasina bi hadith, don't sit there and talk. Do not sit there and have conversation. Go, leave him. He has a private life, he has his wives, his children, he has to be with them. Leave him and go. People loved him so much that they collected close to him. Today, may Allah forgive us, when we become religious, we suddenly discover that I am a Muslim. And we become obnoxious. We have this constant expression of anger on our faces. Believe me, if you want to influence people, the first thing is people must love you. You must be their friend. Nobody is influenced by an enemy. Nobody is influenced by somebody who they find disgusting. How do you become a friend of somebody? By being rude? No. Don't argue with rude people. Don't waste your time. Don't acknowledge them. We have all these internet conversations. Somebody writes something, then you reply. Then they send something, you reply. And remember, there are these people, you can reply till the day of judgment. You will not change his opinion. You can bring dalail from everywhere in the world, his opinion is not going to change. Don't waste your time. Khalas, let him say, boss, you have your opinion, I have my opinion. What's the problem? No problem. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, free world. Believe whatever you like. There is a spam folder, there is a spam filter for a reason. Use it. Right? Jazakumullahu khairan. End of water, end of questions. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.